Welcome to On the Block. When these two brothers were born, blockchain wasn't even invented yet. Fast forward today, and my next guests, Andrea-Franco Stöhr and Nicolo Stöhr, are now all grown up, and they're leading the Crypto Finance Conference, which actually started life in Switzerland, but is now expanding to the US and Japan. Looking back at these pictures, do you remember what exactly you wanted to be? Was tech already on the mind?
Well, I think if I look at the pictures, it's more about having fun together as brothers, discovering the world and looking what is happening next. So no tech.
You didn't think that you would end up as business partners, though?
Not really. I think we were more focused on fighting and seeing who's the stronger, both of us.
And I don't want to start or continue any sibling rivalry, but whose idea really was it to start the Crypto Finance Conference, which actually is all about bringing together investors and those in the crypto and blockchain sphere?
Correct.
That's correct. Well, actually, it was my idea, and together with a good friend, Tobias Reichmuth, we went on a ski mountaineering trip, and we thought, well, you know, there's so much in the newspapers and a lot of people are talking about, but nobody really knows what it is, and especially the investors. They have no idea what the blockchain is, what the Bitcoin is, how it works. And in order to bring them to the space, why not do a conference? And we organized one within 4 months in Moritz, and we were successful.
And as of October, you've actually stepped in to fill the roles as CEO, taking over from your brother.
Correct.
How has that transition been like, and why did you need to step in anyway?
Well, we have already been working together for the conference in San Francisco, and it went really well. So Andre's working as a lawyer, and he had a lot to do there. So I took it over step by step, and then it was the logic step to say, okay, now change it. I will be the CEO, he will be the CLO for legal, and moving forward from there.
And how are you going to be different in terms of as a CEO compared to your brother?
Well, I think we were in a startup mode at the beginning, and now we need to be more structured. So that's one point, I think.
I think that's the main
Not
difference.
structured enough before.
Well, you know, I was probably more easygoing because we were just, you know, coming up with the conference. I was still working as a lawyer. We had one employee, and I just, you know, let him do whatever he wanted. And Nicolo is more the structured guy. He brings in, you know, some deadlines and how to do things, and that's the main difference.
Yeah,
Did you actually ever think about bringing someone else outside of the conference in as a CEO? I noticed on your board that Pascal Forster is a headhunter himself. He's always on the lookout for CEOs. Did you take any advice from him?
Yeah, actually, we were looking at some point for other CEOs or COOs at that time. And then Nicolo came into play. And then we had to decide, well, who do we want to take? And then we decided, well, even though we're brothers, it might be, you know, worth a shot because even if we fight a lot, we still are able to get along because we already have a business. And that was the decision that we took, also with Pascal's help.
And there are no clashes between working together?
Well, I wouldn't say that there aren't clashes. Of course there are clashes, but it's really productive because you can talk to your brother like open, really directly. So that's a really good point that we can work like that together.
I want to move and talk more about the conference itself. So it started its life in St. Moritz, which is actually where you are both from. And then recently it's gone to the US. What is the main purpose of it? Are you just trying to educate investors or really do business there?
Well, I think it's both. So first of all, if you look at the crypto industry at the moment, it's really about education because a lot of new topics, a lot of new things happening. So before you can invest something, you need to understand in what you invest. So that's one point. So we have 3 words. We say educate, connect, and collaborate. These are the 3 main, words for us for our conference. And if you want to educate people, you cannot do it just in one place. You have to go global. So that's why we want to go to San Francisco, to the US, to Asia, and to Europe.
Maybe sometimes investors are too quick to buy into these white papers where all these ideas are formed on. Do you think that investors nowadays are improving or learning lessons from that and not so quick to jump on the bandwagon?
Yeah, I think that's the case. If you look back, the whole space is maturing because a lot of people lost money. If you look at some studies, you know, 70 to 90% of the ICOs, they never came out with a product. And that really shows that investors need education, but it also shows that investors are more savvy now. Maybe one or 2 years ago, a white paper was enough to raise 10, 20, 30 million. Right now, we really need to have a good presentation, a good team behind, and you have to think about what you show to the investors.
Have you learned any lessons firsthand yourself?
I did, actually, yes. I invested in some ICOs and,
And it wasn't what you
No, I didn't
expected or
expect that
hoped.
because there were a lot of promises out there that they will deliver the product, they have the right people, the right environment, and at the end, they were just burning a lot of money.
And I guess when you see these investors at the conferences, then you have that emotional attachment because you have learned from it.
Correct. That's also why we want to make sure that they're not going to do the same mistake, and we're also presenting ICOs to them at the conference, but they're really carefully selected so that they know that if an ICO is presenting at the CFC, that it's most likely, of course, no guarantee, but that it will be a successful story.
You also have your eyes on Asia now, more specifically Japan. So how is that collaboration looking like, and why Japan anyway?
Well, we have been approached in Halfmoon Bay, where we had our conference in San Francisco, by our Japanese partners. And they told to us that they have a big conference there and they're looking for like an investors conference. So that's now what we are working on with them together. So we are just finalizing the contract, the partnership for Japan, and they're defining there who is working with whom, is doing what, and so on. So it's really interesting for us also.
And give me a timeline. When can we see the conference next year, and where could it be?
Okay, so what we discussed with them at the moment, it's May, June next year in Japan, in Tokyo. Then we will have in October the US event, and then now in January the St. Moritz event. So you have like January, April, May, June, and then September, October.
And run me through the finance behind it. How expensive is it to bring these conferences to life? I mean, you get money from sponsors and from tickets, but it's still a big business taking it from St. Moritz to California.
Yeah, of course.
And Tokyo.
And we learned that the hard way. Doing a conference in Switzerland is completely different than when you go to the US. It's double the costs, double the effort.
It's double cost in Switzerland or in the US?
In the US, it's so much more expensive, and people are so much less helpful and welcoming. For them, it's just a business. So, you're a number, and in St. Moritz, you're really a guest. You're a valued partner. They help you, they support you, and again, it's half the cost and better quality.
And would you say that Switzerland, the conference itself, you get return from it, but for the US, it's quite break even for now?
Well, at the moment, you have to understand that we are building up a brand, right? So if you are building a brand, you need to see what you need to invest. So if we go to the US, you're right, it's more break even in Switzerland because it's our home turf. We know a lot of people here. It's more about, okay, here you can expect more of that. But that's for the next 2 or 3 years. It's always like, okay, we need to know that we are building a brand. And then afterwards, of course, if people know you, if they know the quality that we are standing for, also coming, more sponsors, more participants, and then you go the next step.
That's also, if I may jump in, why we're bringing now on board like a big partners with local knowledge. If you want to go to Japan and organize a conference there, you need people on the ground who know, this hotel costs that, or we can negotiate, because we didn't have that in the US, and that costs us a lot of money.
And speaking of money, one comment that you've made in terms of marketing the event is that it attracts high net worth individuals, some billionaires, family offices. When you attract such a client or a base to your events, don't you feel that you are excluding others who may not have such deep pockets but also want to get into this sphere? At the end of the day, blockchain is all about being decentralized and open to everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but you need to see that there are a lot of startup conferences, and as Andrea already said at the beginning, not really a conference for investors. So if you want to convince the investors to get in the industry, to go, that you have the big money going in this industry to change something, then you have to focus on them. Then you have to tell them, okay, what is blockchain? Educate them, bringing them in, and telling them that that's something good that they can invest into. So that's why we are really focusing on that. We are a really small conference, 200 people. That's really a dense audience which is educated at that moment. So we are not excluding people. We are just focusing on one how do you say, target group.
And you think these high ticket prices are justified because a lot of these conferences are asking for $500,000 of dollars to attend.
Yeah, we're convinced that it's justified. I mean, the feedback that we get is always, look, it's the best conference I've ever been. It's well done, well organized. You know, it starts with handling the speakers, bringing them from the airport in, handling them that they have dinners where they can go with us, they can meet the participants can meet the speakers, where, I mean, other conferences, you have no chance to do that. So it might be a high hurdle to get in, but once you're in, you have everything, you know, that you can profit from.
And one of your guests at the US conference actually made a statement saying that he believes that Bitcoin could reach 250,000 by 2022. What do you have to say to that? Do you agree?
I believe that was Tim Draper.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
And I mean, I agree. You know, there's a lot of, let's say, well, crazy people in the crypto space, but he's not the only one predicting such a high number for Bitcoin.
Do you agree?
I totally agree, yes.
So you also have the same forecast as him?
Yes, I do.
Well, I mean, the number, I think it's going in that direction. Yes, if it's now 200,000, 250, I mean, yeah.
You think same? Well, we don't know what could happen, as we've seen in the space of just 1 year. Now, Switzerland has already seen a number of crypto and blockchain conferences coming up. Do you think that it's actually getting harder for you to sell yourselves as a conference if there's one happening every 2 weeks?
Yes, the competition is definitely out there. It's getting tougher because everybody thinks, you know, it's easy money, but it's not. And that's why we really have to position ourselves as a high quality conference. And at the end, we will see who will survive.
Everyone is pitching themselves as a high quality conference, so and a high caliber.
Yeah, but if you look at our conference and then you see that it's different to them, so you're not able to buy a ticket, for example. That means that you have to apply for it, and our board is screening the application and is deciding if someone is able to come or not. So you cannot buy a ticket. If you buy it in another conference, you buy a VIP ticket for 5,000, and then you're in. If you're good quality or not. So.
You're banking on the fact that it is more streamlined, this audience,
yeah, I mean,
more targeted.
The best example is last year's conference in Moritz. We had over 600 applications, and we admitted 150. So, you know, even though we could have admitted all of them and make a lot of more money, we didn't.
And I want to look ahead because the next one is actually going to take place in St. Moritz. Can you already give us any exclusive reveals of who we can expect to be speaking there and what are the topics that are going to be covered?
Yeah, I mean, we have Matthew Roszczak, for example, from Block. He's a really important person in the blockchain crypto space. We have on the other side Eva Kaili, member from the European Parliament, who is working on the blockchain resolution, which was admitted 2 weeks ago. So that's, of course, important, or are people that are at our conference. And the topics at the moment, regulation, of course, that will be something, mass adoption of crypto in the crypto space, but also in the normal world. We discussed it this morning also, that we are looking at how can blockchain impact in developing countries and so on. So it's a mix.
Okay, so moving beyond Switzerland.
Yes, of course.
And the usual suspects in Asia, for example.
Correct, of course, because it's a global topic. So you cannot just focus on something. And the regulation, for example, it's also about, okay, how are the Americans doing it? How is the European Union doing it? Then we hope that we can get someone from Japan also in, so that you have really an international panel for that, for example.
So you're leading this conference and people know you in the space as the Crypto Brothers, but you also have a successful waffle business on the side, which I want to finish up on. How do you juggle being Crypto Brothers and waffle business owners?
Well, I think the waffle business started out as a crazy idea. Why not offer something good to children once they're done with skiing? And then we started just in a tent, and then it took off, and that's our hobby, where we spend the weekends or summer going to festivals. It's really good balance.
Yeah, it's a really good balance, I think, because you have crypto here and then you're doing waffles, so it's a really good combination.
Look, I think it seems that your hands are full, especially with all the conferences next year as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us. Yeah.